kids in the background.
Oh, right. Yeah. My kids are definitely probably going to be popping in, at least one of them, but
Okay. Hello, everybody.
hi.
Okay, I'm gonna hop
Morning.
over to my Facebook tab and I'm gonna share this everywhere because we want everyone to know about sustainable farming. um, so I don't know if you, while I do that, if you want to introduce yourself, April, maybe
Yeah.
that's probably
I'm
good.
April. And well, gosh, I feel like at this point, Kara, we kind of go way back.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I first met Kara well over a year ago. It might have been even 2 years ago now. And we've done some events together. I've learned so much your about Sseko and their passion and mission, for providing fair trade and great opportunities for women. And
Mm-hmm.
then we hung out some over at the studio, Renew Mama, and now we're here. But yeah, I'm a mom of three. I'm work as a therapist, and I also have a wine business. And yeah, things have been pretty busy these days with working from home, kind of navigating the
Yeah.
virtual world. But I think overall, besides being a wine lover, I really love coffee. So when you told me about this coffee, I was like, oh, I'm in, because when I went to Guatemala for a traveling therapy trip that I did when I was in OT school, I actually got to tour a coffee farm in Guatemala. I know this coffee is
Really?
Africa, but I've toured a coffee farm, and I was like the only one in the group that wanted to do that because I'm such a nerd for coffee. I was like, oh yeah, I'll go by myself and I will learn all about the coffee and drink all the coffee, and I don't even care if I'm the only person.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I wanted to show you kind of what I love to do. And this was well, I learned this from my mom. She showed me this, but it was kind of my quarantine hack of anything that I
Ooh,
did over quarantine for myself. This is
I
what,
always need a new hack.
and this is so cheap. Okay, let me see, because if I can flip it around here, see, nope, didn't work. Oh, there we go.
There you
Okay.
go.
So here's the coffee, our wonderful Together coffee that I'm trying today, actually for the first time, and it is amazing. Um, I got the one that's a light roast.
Yeah, the
I have to,
Ethiopian.
yeah, the Ethiopian light roast, but I'd have to say it's still so full in flavor compared to like something you get at the store. It's
Yeah. Okay, you need to go down in the basement, please, just for a minute, because I'm on a meeting, okay? Do you want to sit with me?
for coffee.
Okay, why don't you ask Nora to help you? Nora can fix it for you, okay?
So my
Keep
hack.
going, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem. I know how it goes. I've been running Zoom meetings this whole time with 3 kids, and it's just been an absolute.
It's craziness.
It is craziness. So this is how it works. I'll show you guys. So this is my coffee frother. I ordered this on Amazon, and I just put it in and just woo, and then
Oh, cool.
it provides like this wonderful frothy bliss. I'm gonna flip it back around. It's like, so when I'm drinking it, it's just like the coffee shop, because I couldn't go to the coffee shop, which is probably a good thing for the budget. So
Yeah, but you're like a professional.
this is my morning. This is what gets me through.
Let's see. I'm trying to share this to your group right now. What's your group name? Because I can't find it.
Sunshine and wine.
Okay, well, I'll have to, I can't find it.
You could just do it to my main.
Okay. Why? See, sometimes you try to find something on Facebook and it's just like not, they don't show you, they just show you stuff in a weird order.
I know. I've been trying to figure that out. It's like I have certain groups or whatnot that I go to more often, and I'm like, why can't I just have those in one place?
I know.
So,
Well, let's search you again, see if I can find it.
yeah, so the coffee, like why did Sseko want to drink?
Okay. I'm sorry. Can I turn it on for you after I'm done with my meeting? No. You wait to turn on some. Here, look it. Do you want to come see my video that I'm doing? Come here. We're talking about coffee. Come here. Come sit with me. Oh. Right there. Yeah, do you see us? Right there, Mom. I know. Yes, I know. I see me. Do you see yourself? And look at that's Miss April. Can you say hi, Miss April? Hi. She's sad. She wants to watch Lion King, and the big kids aren't going to put it on for her.
I hear.
I can't do the Lion King. Okay, so why don't we sit here together?
I could do the music for you. Lion King.
Oh, sorry. I was just fixing your hair. Hey, why don't you sit here with me and we talk a little bit about some coffee, and then I will turn it on for you, okay? Okay. So, for those of you who don't know me, I don't think I introduced myself yet. I'm Kara, and this is Cece, right? Is that your name? Yeah, this is Cece. And I am a fellow with Seiko Designs, which is a socially conscious fashion company. But we actually just recently, in the last month, branched out to doing direct trade coffee. And it's just like a really interesting twist because our CEOs have been wanting to get into the coffee market for a long time. I guess in Uganda, coffee is actually 30% of their exported goods, but they're mostly to Europe, not to the United States. And so they knew that, there are a lot of people in the United States that love really good coffee. And so they thought, well, let's introduce Americans to Ugandan coffee. And so we have a partner out of Kansas City that does our roasting, and they had some already established relationships with some coffee farmers in Uganda and also in Ethiopia. And so we have let's not put the money on the computer. Let's play with the money over here instead. How about that? And so we have established relationships with two farmers in Uganda and then in Ethiopia also that do that grow our coffee. And so I know we're going to talk a little bit more about like our sustainable farming practices. And then I know April has some really interesting stuff she was telling me about some of the things that the wineries that your company has relationships with and kind of what they do to make their wine super sustainable. So I'm definitely excited to hear about that. I know you said you had some info to share with us about bees and butterflies. So I'm really curious about that.
Yeah, so some of the sustainable farm practices that they utilize. Well, we talk about it in our have this new wine cellar, and it's called Epic Pursuit, and in they talk about the importance of the bees and like
Don't eat
saving
that. Don't eat
bees.
that.
Um,
Got
and
it.
I'm gonna read to you just like the little snippet here that we talk about on the side of our new Epic Pursuit wine spritzer. Flying almost 2 miles a day, pollinating more than a third of the world's food supply, and playing an integral part in sustainable farming practices, the life of a bee is, well, pretty epic. By enjoying this delicious beverage, you're joining our epic pursuit to take care of the planet for future generations. So, I wineries that use sustainable farming practices really do try to utilize different insects to their advantage, especially the bee for pollinating and whatnot,
Sure.
um, and just protecting the bees. Obviously, there's areas where the bees are endangered, and they do play a very important role with the pollination for any kind of fruit. Um, some other interesting things, not related to the bee, but for butterflies, we've had wineries that have used a microchip technology to release
Mhm.
pheromones that confuse the female and the male
We
bee
just
uh,
because
butterflies.
I'm on a
Uh,
video right now.
the the butterflies basically don't. Kara, you earlier.
What'd you say?
You might be going straight off the line.
Yeah, I know. But some of
That
the
sounds
benefits of
yesterday
having
because
both of us working at home is that sometimes you can tag team and be like,
I
help.
know. Well, yours are a little bit younger. My youngest is 3 and 10, so between them,
Yeah.
usually they will
Yeah, she's
keep each
struggling
other
because
entertained, but
the big kids are not being nice down there in the basement. I had them all set up and everything with a movie so
oh,
that they would hang out for a little bit while I did this, but this is how it goes. So
well, what
anyway,
I wanted to tell you about the butterflies is that so what they do is they use this microchip that releases pheromones into the vineyard, and so the butterflies don't breed. And the reason why that's important in the vineyard is that it prevents having the caterpillars, ones that eat the grapes and the vines.
oh yeah,
So that's just one form of sustainable farming. So instead of using like a pesticide to kill caterpillars, for example, they just create this like sexual confusion among the butterflies in the vineyard to keep the vines safe.
that's so
So
interesting.
yeah, it's really interesting, and I think another really up and coming um way of maintaining the vineyards that farmers are using is just doing less tilling around the vines. So
Yeah,
allow other vegetation to grow, and purposely planting certain vegetation, even like vegetables like kale or other spinach around the base of the vines so that it prevents erosion and keeps the soil nutrient. And so there's less of that idea of everything and keep it all neat and nice. Like it's okay to let even some weeds and whatnot grow because um, everything it's more the idea of a biodynamic ecosystem.
Yeah. That's really interesting that you say that because I was on a call the other day with our Seiko leadership team, and they were sharing that, in some parts of the world where coffee is like more of a commercial production, um, like in South America, for example, or Central America, where there's just a lot more coffee being done and they're like bigger organizations growing coffee, that it tends to be less sustainable because they just like clear the land, like what you were talking about, to maximize the coffee growth. But in Africa, still, they don't do that. So
Oh,
they shared with us a picture that maybe I'll be able to post like in the comments of this later. But it was a really cool picture, and it was like there's trees and shrubs and all kinds of different like natural vegetation, and then the coffee is just planted around it. And so, like maybe it's a little bit less efficient, right, than having just, coffee, coffee, coffee everywhere, but it ends up being more sustainable. And then obviously longer term, it's better for the soil and everything. So, maybe if you clear everything, you can grow a lot of coffee for a short amount of time, but then, a couple years down the road, then that land is useless for anything, to grow anything. And so I just thought that was a really um, interesting tidbit that I didn't know about. And that's one of the reasons why they say that coffee is can be very sustainable, because you don't have to clear the land. You can just plant it in amongst other things. So yeah, so that's interesting that it's a similar philosophy there.
yeah. I know when I went and toured the coffee plantation, is what they call it, in Guatemala, that it does look a lot different than what you would think of a typical farm. Like you do just see kind of random bushes planted all around, and it doesn't seem it's just a different look to it. It's not everything
Yeah.
grow. So, and even from what I remember, like there are bigger trees, like they would utilize bigger trees to almost shade the smaller coffee bushes, uh,
That's
to
interesting.
protect or for them to grow better. It's very interesting, the process. It's actually a very long process. So, the I think it is important. It's important, Sasiko's mission with keeping it fair trade, because those people work very hard to
Mm-hmm.
coffee to maintain the coffee bushes um, and pick the beans. I mean, it's a very laborious process. So,
Yeah,
oh, in
for sure.
many of those countries, they all have people, more indigenous people, come in and do the picking, but they probably are not being paid in a fair wage, if you know what I mean. So, I think fair trade
Yes.
is really good for the people of Uganda to have that opportunity to do something that is amazing with growing great coffee, but still getting a fair wage for doing it.
Yeah, for sure. I actually learned a lot about fair trade and direct trade coffee, and just kind of like the differences and what it actually means, because, we like put organic label or fair trade label or whatever on things, and maybe we don't necessarily know exactly what that means, or like different organizations have different rules and stuff like that. So that's been interesting for me too, to learn when Seiko announced that we were doing Together Coffee. What does fair trade coffee actually mean? What does that mean for the farmers? What does that mean to us? What does that mean for the coffee? Like, is the quality better or not? And the same thing with direct trade. So that's been really something really interesting that I learned. And so um, there's some controversy about being designated as fair trade, because it's actually an expensive designation. So it depends on the size of the organization and like often just even the length of time that they've been operating in business, if they can afford to go through the process of becoming fair trade. So that was really interesting as well. And then basically, from what I understand in the research that I've done so far, is that the difference between fair trade and direct trade is that fair trade designates a minimum amount of pay for farmers. So it establishes a minimum that they find is appropriate, and then it gets adjusted periodically depending on how things are going, but it's a pretty steady thing. I learned that coffee prices change daily. So you, as a farmer, it's really hard to predict, how much to grow and what their season is going to look like if the coffee price at the beginning of your season and at the end of your season is drastically different, right? So what fair trade like organizations do is establish like a base level that it never goes below, so they know that they can actually get that amount. But the interesting part is that for some, it's the minimum is what you get. You can go above it, but a lot of people choose not to pay above the minimum. You can relate that back to like minimum wage, right? Here in the United States, like some companies will pay you more, but
Yeah.
some won't. They'll just do the minimum, right? So there's a conversation about that, about like how to make that process better. But it's definitely grown in popularity, and people realizing that the farmers and the people who are growing your coffee, that they get paid a livable wage, and they get that they're able to support their families and even grow their business. A lot of times, if you're just barely getting by and breaking even, you can't get more land to grow more coffee, to grow your business and employ more people and things like that. So even just beyond the basics of being able to feed your family, there's all kinds of other things that go along with that. And so that's where direct trade can come in and kind of fill those gaps. And direct trade coffee just means that there is more of an established relationship. So the roaster or the company that buys the coffee, whether that's here in the United States or Europe or wherever, they have a specific relationship with a farmer or with an organization in that country that is like a group of farmers together. And they visit the farms. They ensure that the workers are being treated fairly and being paid fairly, and the conditions are really good, and they have like a real relationship. And so at Seiko, one of our big things is relationships. From our workshop in Uganda, we have relationships with our employees there. We write letters back and forth, and we're like really connected with each other's stories. And I think that that's something that Together Coffee begins its process, or begins its story. That's something that we really wanted to focus on, was knowing that, we know who our farmers are and how they're doing. And, not just like, we know they're getting paid well, but that's it. We don't know anything else about them. Like that, we want more than that. And so that's why we are really focusing on doing direct trade and making sure that there's like so much transparency, and we can really be connected to their stories and who they are and their livelihoods and things like that. So that's been interesting for me to learn the difference, because I just didn't really know.
I love it. Love
Yeah.
it. I love this coffee, and I love
Cheers. I've got my Better Together coffee mug.
I saw that.
Yeah,
And
isn't this cute? Look at this, is the logo for Together Coffee.
oh, nice.
It's
Where did
super
you get
cute.
that from?
From Seiko's website. So they actually sold out in a half hour, these coffee
Oh,
mugs.
I
But
love that. Well, another thing that I really love, a few years ago, for whatever reason, I don't know why, I started kind of collecting elephants. So I just like that. I like elephants, and so I have kind of several little trinket elephants around my house, and I really like that there's an elephant on there.
yeah.
It's super cute. So,
Yeah, we love elephants.
uh, well, when they come back in, you'll have to let me know because I'll get a mug.
Yeah, I will. I'll for sure let you know. I actually think they might be back. I'll have to double check. But yeah. So
Wonderful coffee. Yeah.
okay, so you're drinking the light roast. which is Ethiopian.
Mm-hmm.
So you are a big coffee person. So tell me about the flavor, like what and the smell when you opened the bag. Like what did you think? What do you
So it says it is a light roast with notes of citrus, berries, and brown sugar. I will
Mhm.
say it is very smooth. Like you said, you're able to drink it. Hold on, I'm gonna have to put the phone down. I only have one hand. I was gonna open up. I was gonna open up and kind of smell it here. Oh yeah, you can definitely get some of that citrus and berry when you smell it.
Yeah.
It smells amazing. Um, I always store my coffee in the freezer to keep it fresh. I don't know about you. Now
Mhm.
that I've got it open, I'll probably keep it in the freezer so that it stays good longer, but not that it'll last very long. Uh, but yeah, I it's smooth. It's good. I do like cream in my coffee, so I'll probably continue to do cream with my frother. But if I was in a situation, I think I could definitely drink it without. I could drink it black.
Yeah. Well, there's no bitter aftertaste like a lot of coffee that I've drank in the past has this like bitter aftertaste. And so I think that's what I was trying to avoid with the creamer. And like anybody who knows me will tell you that like my coffee when I drink it, it's like it's like really light color
Yeah,
because I like really go heavy on the creamer and I just taste so delicious. And like I do still put some creamer in it. Like I don't know, I don't want to spill it, so I probably can't show you what it looks like because it's like half empty, but I do have some in there. Right now, I'm using some nut pods. I don't know if you've ever tried nut pods, but they're pretty good.
I have
So,
no idea what that is. Tell me.
so nut pods are almond and coconut milk. And then there's plain or there's different flavors like hazelnut, French vanilla, cinnamon, or whatever. So it's non-dairy, and it's really good. Like it makes it like taste creamy. I'm curious about the frother if it makes it even feel like more creamier like milk, you know? Um,
It can because I've used my frother with almond milk and it does make it kind of more like having real cream.
yeah.
If it, that it makes it more airy and foamy. So
Yeah, so that's interesting. Maybe I'll have to try that. But yeah, and it's like way less calories and stuff too. So like for someone
uh,
who uses a lot of creamer, definitely the less calories is good because I just realized like how much calories I was actually drinking in my coffee and
yeah,
it's a lot.
I for me,
Hey Audrey. Audrey's just joined us. Oh, and Laura was here earlier and Laura says thanks for all the info.
yay. I think that for me, it's all about the sugar. Like I try to really cut out as much sugar as I can. So I like with my creamers and whatnot, I just do like a sugar free or just a plain dairy.
Mhm.
Um, have to add, any sugar or any creamer that has sugar in it. Same with like the wine that I drink, it's no sugar added.
Mhm.
That extra sugar in your diet can really up your calories and obviously carbs. And so that's where I really try to cut
Well, it's just sneaky, like, it's in so many things. Because I did Whole30 a couple years ago, and it was just amazing how many things had sugar in it that you just didn't even realize, like salty things and whatever, so, yeah, I mean, it definitely pays to be, um, aware of that kind of stuff, just like you're aware of, like, where your coffee is grown or where your wine is from and things like that, or your clothes, but also just, like, knowing, like, what you're actually eating and drinking. Because
for sure.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I don't know if you had more to share about sustainable farming or anything.
Um, well, there's a technique that people ask about uh, dry farming, uh, essentially not using irrigation. And that is actually a sustainable farming technique because grapes have to dig, like the vines have to root in soil. their get the water that they need. And so that makes the vines more resilient and actually results in a better tasting grape and wine. So that's another sustainable farming
That's so interesting.
is not adding irrigation to their vineyard, just letting them naturally get that they need, from the earth. So
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because especially if you're growing your grapes in an area where like they're naturally grown. I mean, of course, the rainfall and the humidity and the dirt are great for that because it's where they're naturally from, right? Like, I just find that interesting. I think you end up needing more water or what different soil or whatever when you're trying to grow things where they don't belong. I learned actually that Uganda is like the perfect like climate and elevation and all that for coffee. Like Ethiopia is the birthplace of coffee, and so like as a country, they're very proud of that. About like that the coffee was originally made there and everything, which is really interesting to learn about the history.
yeah, I did not know that until you shared that. I would have assumed more of a South American country
Hmm.
birthplace. So that it was born in Africa is very interesting, and
Yeah.
how it's just it's interesting, especially with the United States too, and how we're just such a coffee fanatic country.
Yeah. And
And
I think as a culture, we're becoming just more aware of how things are made and that why that matters. And so I think it's cool to be part, like for both of us, to be part of that movement of, being more intentional about where and how you purchase things, whether it's, wine and coffee, like we're talking about now, or just in general, anything, whether it's fashion or whatever. But yeah, I guess Ugandan coffee, like the Uganda climate and elevation and everything is perfect for growing coffee. But the infrastructure there is not as organized as maybe it is in South and Central America or even in Ethiopia. And so just people aren't aware of how good Ugandan coffee is. So I guess like coffee experts around the world agree that Ugandan coffee is amazing, but just people don't know about it because they don't have the infrastructure to really grow a lot and then, advertise that they have it and distribute it and all that stuff. And so it's just really cool to be part of that movement to introduce the
right,
world to
to bring
really good.
more information to, yeah, to bring more information to the U.S. Basically,
Right.
Sseko is letting those small farmers get their product to, a bigger supply chain,
Yeah, absolutely.
a bigger group, a bigger demand um, here in the U.S. for that, and just getting it here is what they need to be able to really grow their business. I had a question though about in regards to fair trade and like the ages of the farmers and how that works for the families, because I know in many of the countries it's kind of a family affair. Here in the US we kind of think, oh, we're they're making children do all the work, but I think in more of that mindset in those countries it's that the families are working together kind of on their family business.
Hmm. It's a
um
different
but I
mindset.
wondered,
Yeah.
'cause I remember when I went to the coffee farm, when I went to the coffee farm um, in South America, there were a lot of children working with their parents, and part of that is because they come out of they're more indigenous, and so they come out from where they live in higher elevation. They come down to the coffee farms, and they have to bring their children with them, so their children are just with them. So
Right.
I just wondered how that works in Africa.
Yeah, that's a super good question because I don't know the answer. I will have to ask our CEO, like if we have like what kind of information we have about that, about if there are rules about that or what the culture is like. Yeah, that's a really great question. And I think that's the cool part about doing direct trade is that we can ask and find that out, because we have relationship
Right.
with those farmers. So yeah, that'd be really interesting to know. So I'm definitely going to ask about that and share that with you because I'm just not sure. We launched the coffee company less than a month ago, so we're all learning a lot about coffee and about
Yeah.
our partners and how everything is working and stuff like that. So I'll definitely find out because that's a really interesting question. And just even just in general, like learning about how other cultures view things like that is just been interesting, like in traveling to other places and some things that we see here. Natasha says, yeah, we like a week. I think it's been longer than a week, but it does seem like that. Like it hasn't been super long. Um, but just things that we don't do here or is not a value that we have, but like other places do, and we see it as like something that's negative, but they don't, and so it's just interesting to learn those things.
Yeah. You actually got to go to Africa.
Hmm. I did. I went to Uganda last April, and we got to visit the workshop where our clothes and shoes are made and handbags. And we got to visit a girls' high school where our work study students come from. And we got to go on safari and see the elephants and the giraffes and stuff like that, which was really cool. And we have been asking, like, so next trip, are we able to go to a coffee farm? Because we're all like really want to go do that. So hopefully we'll be able to work that out sometime that we could visit the coffee farm because that would be
Yeah,
really cool. Like, sign me up for that. I'll go all the places when we're
that
allowed to
would be.
travel again.
They are beautiful.
Yeah, I have been to some coffee farms just in other places, like in Costa Rica. I've went to one and stuff, but I have not obviously been to ours. So that would be cool to have like a personal connection to it and stuff like that. Natasha says, and I'm coming back next year. Yeah, that's the goal.
Well,
Are you seeing the comments?
I don't see the comments on my end. I don't know.
Oh, you can't.
Um,
I can see them. Let's see. We have a lot of like praise hands. Thanks,
all I
Uganda, for
see is
coffee. I'm gonna ask.
yay. Yeah, thank you for this great coffee. All the mamas here in the US need our good coffee for sure.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Gotta keep the energy up. I'm asking if anybody has questions about clean crafted wine. Um, so you guys have like your company doesn't
Sure.
have its own winery, right? It has partnerships with different wineries and stuff like that. So how does that work? Do you know?
Yeah, I hope I'm not breaking up on your end. I'm just going to keep talking. Just let me know if I'm breaking up or
Just
not.
a
It's a
little
little bit
bit,
delayed
but
on
I
my
can.
end.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, so Scout and Cellar has many partnerships with small vineyards across the world, actually, across the US, across the world. And they have created very high standards to not allow any harmful chemicals or sugar in their wines. And they follow the wine process from the beginning, from the grape to the glass, essentially. Actually, I have a very good
Mm-hmm.
video of our founder, Sarah Shonitz, kind of explaining that process. It's very interesting because for when you talk about organic or clean crafted wine, it's not just the winemaking, but or not just the growing or just the winemaking. It's that whole process because um, possibly the grapes could be grown organically without chemicals, but if other things are added in the winemaking process, then it kind of cancels it out, right? So
Sure.
Scout and Cellar has a very strong or high standard for the wine, for the clean crafted wine, and they test for all of those harmful chemicals, preservatives. Uh, kind of a famous offender would be the glycophosphate. Um, and that's tested for, and we don't allow any trace of that in our wines. And so there's over 250 commonly added or commonly um, present chemicals in most mass produced wine. And we test for those and more. And we are one of the only wine companies that have that standard and can really guarantee we guarantee our wines 100%. So anything that you would ever order or get, if you're not satisfied, there's a 100% guarantee to have either a refund or get your bottle replaced. So that's a really good testament to our company and what we stand for and the confidence that we have in our product.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that because, when you're trying to be intentional about what you're buying, it's a lot of work, a lot of research, a lot of, just like looking around and learning things. And so it's really nice to know, like, okay, I found April, I found Scout and Cellar. I know anything that I buy from her, like, will be good, and I don't have to worry about it. And that's just really makes it a lot easier, right? And it's fun too because you guys have different varieties available all the time, and so I think that's fun. You can kind of test out different things or learn about new wineries or types of wine because you guys always have different things available, which is really nice. I want to go. Okay, just give me 5 minutes.
Yes, that is very true. Some of the newer things, like I mentioned earlier, we have wine spritzers now. They have canned wine in white,
I love the canned
rosé,
wine.
and bubbly. Yeah, it's so good. And it's
Yeah.
really great for travel. Yeah.
Well, and it's great. Like
I
I
know
I
right
don't
now,
drink a lot.
uh,
Oh, sorry. I was just saying I don't
go
drink a
ahead.
lot of wine, so to have the cans is really nice because you can have like a glass and then next week have another glass or something and you don't have to waste the bottle or feel like you have to drink it all, ASAP kind of thing. So
Mhm.
that's nice. There is a question for you. Audrey asks that she knows that many people get headaches from wine and she's wondering um, if like organic, clean wine helps with that.
So I can say over 2.5 years that I've been drinking the wine with Scout and Cellar, I've never had a headache because of it being clean crafted. So that's my
Awesome.
personal testimony in regards to how the wine has been amazing for me. So yes, it does make a huge impact in how you feel the next day. Well, actually,
Yeah.
while you're drinking it, I mean, some things if they're jam packed with things, you instantly kind of get a headache or feel sick or don't feel well. I know for me personally, a lot of those chemicals in mass produced wine I'm allergic to. And so that's part of why I also switched to clean crafted.
Mm, yeah. That's what got me started on
Here,
cleaner, like lotion and stuff. 'Cause hi.
oh.
Uh,
Well, now we're getting the kid bombing.
yes. We've been talking too long now. They need our attention. Yeah. Some wine gives me a
It's
headache,
funny,
but
like
not because
no
it's
matter where you
hungover.
go,
Yes,
like
exactly.
during the quarantine, not I would go into like a closet or try to hide or like and, and it didn't matter
Yeah.
over a certain amount of time, they would eventually find me.
They have radar. They're like, "We know where you are. We will always find you." And I'm like right in the middle of my house right now. So maybe that was a poor choice of location, but whatever. It's where my computer is. Oh boy. Audrey also says that she loves not having to worry about what's in her food or drinks or makeup or clothing. Audrey works with beauty counters, so she knows all about that stuff. And then Natasha says once uncorked, the bottle is gone. So she doesn't have to worry about having the cans. She can just, have the bottle ready. And then she also said that some wine gives her a headache, but not because she's hungover. So she's definitely had that experience before. And I have too. I have like one glass and then I just kind of feel yucky. And it's like, oh, there's must be something in this that doesn't agree with me. So it's interesting to learn more about that.
Yeah, for me, I get very stuffy in my nose and
Yeah.
um and flushed very quickly. And that has to do with some of the sulfites and whatnot that are added. Many mass produced wine companies have to add more of that because it's a preservative. So there's naturally producing um, sulfites or sulfas in wine, and that's okay. But in the winemaking process, especially after the grapes are picked, in order when you've got a lot of grapes sitting in vats to stop the fermentation process more quickly, they add more of that. They spray it on, um,
Mm,
and then that's what can contribute to some of those reactions. For me personally, I'm allergic to things with sulfa, and so that's why before clean crafted, I would react so poorly to those kind of wines. E- Even to this day, I just cannot drink anything from the grocery store. The levels are so high and will make me essentially sick. So yeah, there's a lot of things that people don't realize that are what you said before, just educating yourself more about the products that you're consuming, about the products that you're buying. There's a lot
yeah.
of very marketing out there to say that things might be natural or good, but unless there's a true standard testing or proof to what that the company can provide, you really don't know.
Yeah.
And anything that I will say, for the most part, things that are in the grocery store and on the shelf, they're just by the nature of the supply chain process are going to have a lot more chemicals and preservatives and whatnot because they sit on the shelf for a long period of time. Before they're on the
Right.
shelf grocery store, they're in a warehouse. Before that, they're trapped. So I like, for example, with your coffee and with clean crafted wine, those products are directly shipped to your home, and that really cuts out a lot of that shelf time.
Yes. And cuts out a lot of the financial middle people too, to make sure that more of the profits goes to the farmer. And that, of course, like you're paying extra, but that's paying for the farming, paying for like, so without those middle people in there, you're
Mhm.
getting that more of the money is going to the farmers. Like there's more money left, like the company is not just taking all the profits or whatever.
Yeah, and you're getting a fresher, higher quality product.
Right, because it's coming right to you. Yeah, because we roast ours in small batches too. So you're definitely getting fresh, and on the bag it shows you like the date and everything. So you know exactly how to how long it'll last and how long it'll be fresh for and things like that. So that's really cool too.
Yeah, some really good questions coming in.
Yeah. Audrey says she always recommends her customers to read the labels. Yeah, and the education piece is so important, whether that's for makeup or wine or coffee or whatever you're using. So
What
that's
beauty counter? Who was the one that made that comment about
the labels.
that said with beauty counter she likes the beauty counter?
Oh yeah, my friend Audrey. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I love it too, Audrey. I actually am wearing it now. That's what I wear for a lot of my foundation. So foundation and makeup
Mhm.
stuff. I really in general, I support just I just think a lot of the companies out there where you can get products sent to you directly, um, and companies that provide additional testing and backing their product is just overall just better, right? I really truly believe that when I can get things sent directly to me and have a company that's guaranteeing, what they're sending and guaranteeing what's in their product, that it's just going to be better.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have relationship with them too, so there's just even more value added to that. And Audrey was saying that buying like farm to table products, you have that relationship, and that's just so valuable. Like for me with my Seiko products, that they're hand signed by the person who made them, and I know who they are. I've met a lot of them, and I know their story, and so that just adds just a huge amount of value to the shoes I'm wearing or the bag I'm carrying or whatever. And then the same thing goes for your wine and coffee or makeup, like that. That the people involved in all aspects of it are getting paid well, they're doing a job that they enjoy, they're like, it just feels really good and feels like whole and connected rather than not having any idea, where anything is coming from, or just having such a disconnect between, where it comes from and then how it ends up to you.
Those leather bags that Sseko has are gorgeous, and
Thank you.
I just love them so much. I wanted to get one, and I told myself for a while, when I hit some bigger goals with my business, that I would splurge and get one.
I
So
do the
I'm
same thing.
pretty close this month. So uh,
Woo!
I'll let you know. So I'm close. I'm pretty excited about it. People
That's
are.
amazing.
I just think, like what we've been talking about the whole time, people are just becoming more aware in their products, and therefore they're loving things like clean crafted wine. Sure. um, that people are just more aware, and therefore just really loving some all the products that we've been talking about. They're loving clean crafted wine. They're loving fair trade coffee.
Yes.
They're loving custom made leather bags and clothing and sandals. Like, I think people, because also that's where it's been stuck at home and not kind of going up and down the grocery aisles. At least I haven't. I've gotten everything mailed to me, shipped to me throughout
Yeah,
this.
yeah, same.
That, it's just, if you can get it sent and it's a better quality, then why not? And
Yeah.
I think that just show I my business has grown because of it, and I would think that yours has too.
Well, and it's just, I think even with the pandemic and just all of the things that have gone on, and like at Amazon with how they're treating their employees and things like that, I think people are realizing that just because you get a good deal on something and it arrives at your door super fast, maybe it's starting to feel less good because you realize behind the scenes there's all this bad stuff going on. And so, I think
I
people
have
are,
not,
their eyes are opened to that.
I have not heard about some of that going on with Amazon. So what have you heard?
Yeah, so during the pandemic, like especially earlier on, they were still requiring all of their employees to have the same rate. Like, I don't remember how much time, but like per package, the amount of time they
Oh,
have to get it ready is like seconds. It's very fast. It's kind of crazy. But the volume increased so much, right? Because we're all at home and we're thinking like ordering packages is safer. So I'm just going to order stuff from Amazon. So the amount has gone up, but they did not like give them extra time to package everything. And then they didn't distance everybody, so they're still working in really close confinements. And so a lot of like Amazon packaging facilities or whatever were getting outbreaks of the virus,
oh,
and they weren't, and like for a long time they weren't getting extra hazard pay for being
mhm.
essential workers and things like that. So it's just people are realizing like, wow, um, something has to give here, right? You can't have it fast, cheap, and good, right? You got to have
Right.
if you're having all of those things together, like that's just not possible. Something is off somewhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think, even just being home and people learning more about how things work behind the scenes, I think the virus and everything that's going on has kind of blown the curtain back on a lot of how a lot of things work. And so, wow, this is obviously a tragic situation. I think in some levels we're learning a lot more about how things work, and that maybe if we spend our money in certain places, we can make more of an influence.
Yeah, I agree. It's just it's been interesting how our world has changed in such a short period of time. And
Yeah.
uh, overall, I think we just need to have respect for people that are in all areas of employment, right? We
Hmm.
from all levels, and that knowing that every every person is essential, and that people need to have rights, in the workplace, and be treated fairly.
Hmm. Absolutely. Well, on that note, I think I have to go because things are breaking down around here. I can hear the chaos, like the
Yeah.
levels are rising.
Just
So
listen, Kara. We'll do
this
it
was really
again.
fun. I learned so much from you about sustainable farming. So I really appreciate this conversation. It was really great.
Yeah, me too. We'll do it again, and have a good day, Mama.
You too. Hang in there.
Hang
Bye,
in there.
everybody. Thanks for watching with us. Oh, and I posted, there's been like the little scrolly thing going by. So you can follow both of us on social, learn more about clean crafted wine, learn more about direct trade, fair trade coffee, and sustainable fashion, and all the things. So follow us, hang out with us. That would be awesome. So cool. Have a good day, everybody. Bye.
Bye bye.